Today we're going to work on removing the emergency brake cable, which is this cable right here. As you can see, goes to the brake pedal, and there's a little clip right there that's got to be removed first. This is on a 2004 Nissan Titan, so we're going to start with that. But in order to remove the cable, there are a couple clips on it, which you can see there. And then of course you got to remove the whole center console to get under the truck. And we'll do this a step at a time, but we'll catch you here. The thing that you got to do is remove this end of the cable. You got a screw, it's got to be taken off. This one right here, all the way down and then over the top, and then out the back right here to this. So this is where the clip was, and you got to put that all the way around this whole thing here and fit that in. So that'll be fun. That's gonna take that off right now, and we'll see what we got. Next step, once you get that done, is you got to remove the two bolts in here. There's a pad that goes over the top of that. Take that out and you can see the two screws. They're Phillips head screws. And then you need to come in and remove, there's one on either side of this that holds the center console in place. And removing this piece, for me, it's going to be a nightmare because it's going to fall apart again, and then I'll have to find a way to fix it just because these are so expensive. They're $600 for one of these finishing plates, and that's just outrageous. Anyway, going to remove that, going to remove this, and then this whole center console will lift up. And then we'll have to take the shifter gear off and put this into neutral in order to get that center plate off, that finishing piece. But that'll be the next step that's coming up. So once you get this piece off, there's going to be a couple of screws like right there and one on the other side. That's part of the console. Once that comes out and you've gotten all these out, like I said, the bolts, the other bolts, this should, and these two bolts right here, you should be able to lift this console out. There might be a little bit of issues coming out from right here, and we'll look at those. We got to disconnect once we get to that point. But the cable, as you can see, runs right. It runs along that left side there. This is on the passenger side, under the carpet, and then it goes to about right here, and then it goes outside the truck and back to the back. So that's what we're trying to get at, and it's going to be a bitch. Oh, did I just say that? Okay. Anyway, moving those around. I don't think we got to disconnect all of this, like the shifter cable, but I'll let you know. All right, a lot has happened since we started this. So we got that piece out. There's a bracket behind there. But the thing is, to get all this out, I had to disconnect the bolts there on the shifter to lift this console out. But also had to cut the carpet open because there's screws right there. There's screws right there. And then the other thing is you got to take apart this bracket, because in order for this to come out, it goes on the inside and it's got to do those two pieces. So this bracket's got to come out. There's two screws down there. So you had to cut the carpet out, and I'm going to sew this back together, and hopefully that'll hold. And then it all comes through here, and then there's a piece underneath that you need to take apart too. But it all wraps around back there. It's a very thick cable, and it is hard to get. So this is going to be a challenge, you know, but shit, I can imagine if the dealer did it, it'd cost thousands of dollars. But anyway, this is where we're at. I wish I could show you step-by-step instructions, but unfortunately, I only have myself to do the filming. All right, let's see all those pieces together. Okay, so we got the new cable in, and we're going to match it up to where all these things, you know, fit and tight. And we plugged this part back in, we put the bracket back in, and we had to feed it back around this side behind it, just like it has been. And then it comes out over there. You can see the cable right there. And then the last thing to hook up is the brake pedal. Because that's going to be the most easiest and leastest end, because you got to put that back on. I'll show you how to do that. But feed it from the inside to go outside, And then this way, this thing can sit on properly, and then you'll connect it to the two cables in the back, and I'll show you how to do that, because the cable snapped. As you can see from this end, cable snapped, and there was no emergency brakes anymore, or parking brakes, or whatever you want to call it. Now, you can't tow anything if you don't have a parking cable, because you got to be able to put the brakes on. So yeah, this is where we're at. I hope this makes sense to you, because it is a lot of work. I wouldn't say a beginner to do this. You got to have some sense of ability to put things back together. And there's a lot of screws, a lot of pieces. Oh, and you got to take the dash out. And there's a piece right here. Not the dash, but the glove box. You know, the glove box got to come out. There's a piece right here that this little corner piece right here sits on. You see that little bracket? That's got to go in here, and it goes onto here. So you got to take the glove compartment out in order to do that. Because of the torque that's on these, I'm going to use a cheater bar, and just to get a little more tightness on it, because these were pretty tight. So you want to do that there, and you want to do that for these two screws right here. You just want to get a little more torque on them so it's tight and doesn't come loose, and that way your parking brake doesn't have anything but cable movement on the inside. All right, hope you like this. In order to accommodate the stitching, I didn't want to stitch it because that'd take too long. I'm using zip ties, and I'm going to pull those together and tighten it up. But we've got the plug on. We've got it attached right here. We got it attached right here. So now we're going to move to the other side and go attach all that over there. Okay, now that this piece is on, we've got to go back over here and deal with the foot pedal. That's going to be a little tricky, I think. There are two pieces, well, right here. See if you can see that. The cable's got to fit between those, so you got to bend it one way and bend it another way to get it out there. That's just basically a fail-safe to make sure that the cable doesn't come out from this end. So we're going to get all that attached, and then you got to be sure to keep your bolts, because these cables don't come with any bolts. At least mine didn't. And we're gonna put this all the way around, and then we're going to attach it right in here with that clip again, and I'll show you when that's done. All right, so be careful, y'all. This isn't work for amateurs. Now, I got to tell you, getting that into that foot pedal bracket, that was really, really hard. So, and then you got to put this little thing back in. It's supposed to come in from the back side, but I couldn't get it in because there's this wad of cable over there that prevents that from going in. So I'll put it in from this side. I'm not sure it's set all the way, but I got it the best I can. I'm not worried about it. And then that. Now we're going to button it all back up again. Going to get all that put back together. Get my stitching system back together and see how it goes. Okay, now we're looking underneath the car. So this is where the plug comes out. Right there, and that's got to come in from the top, so from the inside. And the cable comes over, and then you have your mount right there, and then you have your two brake cable lines here for the parking brake. You got to put those on first. Don't put this part on until you got that part on. And then you may need to use a wrench in order to pry this back against this bracket right here, so you have some leverage and you can get those screws back on. I honestly recommend that you do it all in reverse. So you start, when you get the cable put into the truck, you start here, connect this, mount this, and then go in and do this, and then go ahead and do your bolts on the inside and work your way to the brake pedal. Well, the brake pedal, you know, could be last, it could be first, I don't know. But be sure you thread the cable in right on the brake pedal and don't put it behind it like I did the first time. The finished product almost, where I'm gonna zip it, get that down, and then put this all back in place to where I can drive this truck again. Jump forward, and we got this back together. We're putting this shifter back in. There's some screws that you gotta take out, and you gotta put those back in. Remember that bracket that's at the side of there, it's not really a bracket, it's just a clip, and then you got to put the screws back in here, and it's going together pretty good. When you do this, take the time to clean your vehicle underneath all this. I vacuumed it, got it all clean, and just make sure you do it right. I mean, the mechanic's not going to do that. This is my truck, so I'm going to make sure I do everything the right way. And it's coming together. So far, so good. Got to plug that cable in and a few other cables. Hopefully they'll get it back together.